weird.
Welcome
Wow.
to a little bit of R&R.
Yeah.
Today is going to be all about championship game, coaching openings. I mean, we'll talk about Wildcard Weekend, but I don't know. But
Should
I
be
don't.
wearing, should be wearing my I should be wearing my Huskies hat, and I didn't. That's no disrespect to Huskies.
Well, I mean, it's funny. Both teams kind of seasons over, but welcome to
Yeah.
Friday. How you doing,
Yeah.
Dad?
I'm doing good. I don't know if I mentioned on the previous, but I won't go into the long detail, but I'm actually building a bookcase out of other stuff. I'm not building it from scratch, and man, it has been a project. Only recently retired, so now I have 10. I mean, literally, I spent 6 hours on it yesterday. So we're getting close. We're getting close to painting and being done, and that day will be much rejoicing. But yeah, we actually went to the home and garden show for an hour and a half, and every vendor tries to sell you something as you
Yeah.
walk by. It was actually quite funny, but it was fun. We had a good time.
Andrea and the kids. It was a little while ago. Went to something at the rec center, and it
Mm.
was a little different. There was activities and you could build things and buy things. It was actually
Oh yeah.
pretty cool. No, I was up late. You guys will notice we have a different format. We now have a ticker going by at the bottom of the screen. I was hoping I could get it to stop, but even a scroll speed of 0, it still moves. So okay, that's fine. It actually, I really like the speed, so I'm gonna not
Good.
touch it.
Nice.
We have a thumbnail that took me forever because I forgot everything I learned from making thumbnails, and I'm not Mr. Creative.
That's darn funny right there.
Could not, for the life of me, just get the heads. I just picked a couple of coaches: Belichick, Harbaugh, Vrabel,
Nice.
just for fun. I couldn't fit all 8 or whoever has job openings in there, but yeah, that took longer than I thought I was going to.
Well, so one of the guys here, local, guy by the name of John McJunkin. I wish I would have taken a picture of what he had, but it was 3 small screenshots of, and they weren't complimentary pictures of Pete, Belichick, and Saban, and it was like the trifecta for him, right? Because hey, look, if you're not a Patriots fan, if you're not a Seahawks fan, and you're not a Bama fan, you don't like those 3 guys.
No.
Right? You get tired of Pete being all up, and you get tired of Belichick winning, right? Just winning.
Yes.
And same thing with Saban, right? But here's the funny part: the people that actually played for Nick Saban just speak so highly of him as a human. So the guy we follow, the guy, that Rob turned us on to with the arm that's paralyzed. The black guy, he's now.
Oh, I don't know him.
I just blanked on his name. I so apologize. He is so awesome, Russ. Anyway, he had this whole paragraph about Nick Saban, who, by the way, the young man played for Tennessee. He was going to be in the first round draft as a safety. So it's a phenomenal story. I'm absolutely embarrassed that I can't remember his name. I will in a minute, but he's now a phenomenal speaker. Saban actually had him come speak to his team, and over this whole, I can't remember the event, but anyway, and he just had nothing but glowing things to say about Coach Saban. So
same actually with Belichick because I forgot about this because they interviewed Brady, and I forgot that was actually Belichick's first year coaching the Patriots.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Did not know that. Had no clue. Because I heard that and went, that's bizarre. So their whole, essentially, besides about 2-3 years, their whole tenure was them together at the Patriots, which is crazy. And honestly, I think we both agree. We kind of want to start with the kind of the championship, NCAA Championship Game fallout. That's kind of, we want to kind of recap the game.
Yep.
Because it's going to affect the rest of the conversation today. Because we really want to talk about Harbaugh, because he kind of affects everything, in my opinion, that's happening in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you and I watched most of it, and it was a
game,
weird
you mean?
game.
Oh, yeah. So, by the way, it's Inky Johnson, and he's just, if anybody's ever read any of him, he's just, watch Inky Johnson. Just unbelievable young man. Anyway, so my take on the game. Look, I haven't watched anybody's recap. This is just me, who I watched. Russ and I both watched it. I don't know who dressed up as Michael Penix Jr., but that was not the Michael Penix Jr. I looked at his season, right? I got it up here. One, he never completes more than 30 passes. I don't care how many attempts, it's 30 passes, right?
I'll throw it up on stream. Keep talking.
But here's the funny part, right? I asked you, how many attempts do you think he had in the Michigan game? He had 51 attempts, more than any. There's not even one close. The closest was 42. Utah. And by the way, he threw for 332 and a couple of TDs, right? Anyway, it was so out of character for him. And one of the best games he had all year was against the Longhorns. 29-38, 430 yards, 2 touchdowns. What was his passer rating? It's up here somewhere. I don't see it.
The rating's weird because I see rate of 188, but I thought one.
Yeah, that can't be it. Yeah. I don't. So anyway, I mean, it's like 228 down below, right when he just smoked Michigan State. So I look. Everybody said he got rattled. He got. In my opinion, he got sacked once. He barely got scared out of the pocket. Like he was on juice.
Yeah.
He threw it 2 feet over everybody's head. The only pass that I saw that he actually was on target and it got dropped was the one to the second string running back. Because number 7 was obviously, look, even one of the commentators said he was only 75%. I think a couple of those, like when they roll, they under the pile and stuff.
He actually was actively hurting them, unfortunately.
Right. And by the way, nothing against Michigan. They stuck to their game plan, executed perfectly, did everything they were supposed to do. They put the Huskies on their back with 2 drives. By the way, they never had that again, right? They literally almost couldn't run when the Huskies finally calmed down and stopped, freaking out. But anyway, so my take on that was I don't believe I think that's a 1-score game, 2-score game, maybe if everybody forgets 17-10 at half. Right, Huskies had come back,
right,
and held them to a field goal in the second quarter. Then it was 20-13, so they were still within a striking distance. And I have no idea why Michael Penix looked like he did. Every time they showed his eyes, he was like looking into the sun or something.
Deer in the headlights.
Yes, deer in the headlights.
And I have on stream right now the stats for J.J. McCarthy. He was 10 of 18 for 55.
Yeah. No touchdown, by the way.
140 yards, no touchdowns, no picks.
140 yards.
4 rushes for 31 yards.
That is so pedestrian.
I mean, even against Alabama, 27.
He almost ran for more yards, and he's not a running quarterback. Would you say that against Alabama?
And on that note, what I've heard is he is a very selective runner, which is a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
And people were impressed by some of his high-level decision-making, which I agree with.
Dude, I wish we had the clip of when the guy just barely clicked his ankle.
Yeah.
He was stumbling. I felt so bad. Look, that will be the meme forever. I guarantee his teammates probably have that up on the wall.
I'd have that on a t-shirt.
I thought he was going to do a forward roll and everything. Anyway.
But he was 17 for 27, 63%, 221 yards, 3 touchdowns against Alabama, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
But when they shut out Iowa, he was 22 of 30 for 147 yards, no touchdowns. When they beat Ohio State, 16 of 20 for 148 yards and a touchdown. And I don't mean this as
disrespect. I'd love to see what the rushing is every single game, because I guarantee you they were rushing for 1,000,000 yards.
Well, remember when I said, and I didn't mean this to be a knock on him, but he's Jimmy G from Michigan.
Yeah.
Just don't lose us the game, please.
By the way, there's plenty of Jimmy G's that have been in the NFL for a very long time.
Yes.
Flacco was one for a while, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you remember, the Ravens just relied on the scariest defense since the '85 Bears.
Yep.
And Flacco, I mean, I remember in the Super Bowl where he threw that moon shot and nobody caught it. Remember that with the lights going out and all that craziness? Yeah. Anyway,
they're lucky they had Anquan Bolden, because Anquan Bolden is essentially a power forward. Getting rebounds. That's how he made his career.
Him and what's number 14 for the Seahawks? They both. I mean, they're made of granite. Yeah, they're made of granite. I mean, people try to. I mean, they just shake them off and just walk back and like hand the guy the football. They don't. It's like, oh, linebacker tried to tackle me.
Yeah. Good luck.
So unfortunate. Hey, look, I'm still very proud of my Huskies. Right? They were undefeated going into the biggest game all year. Obviously, next year it's a 12-game playoff or something. And by the way, they're going to play Michigan in regular conference. I think when they sort out what the conference looks like next year. It's a sad day for the Pac-12, in my opinion. Right? As being an old guy that's watched Pac-12 for 100 years since it was Pac-10. Right? Didn't have Utah. Didn't have any of those guys. Right? Anyway, and obviously being in Arizona, we have two Pac-12 teams that are either of those guys moving? I haven't even looked.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think we're gonna almost need a whole show. You know
we're reserving that for off season, right?
Well, partially because the meme where there's all like the spider web of yarn on the wall. Because I don't know what anything's gonna look like. I don't know.
We were going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about how they play the players, right? Which I believe may drive some coaching decisions because I don't think all the coaches like it, even though the players should probably be paid. Let's just rest that right there. Two, the merry-go-round of where teams are going it would be right. It would be educational for us, let alone for anybody that ever watches what we're doing, right? So
that leaves we'll hold two teams left in the Pac-12: Washington State and Oregon State.
No kidding.
USC. I'm sorry. You know what?
Let's hold it.
I have the power. Real quick. Throwing it up on stream. USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington are going to the Big Ten. Okay. Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah are headed to the Big 12. Cal and Stanford will go into the ACC.
Is Big 12 with Oklahoma, Texas, and all of them, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. And the Big 10 is Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. Right. Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm terrible with the divisions because they don't really tell you anything about the teams. So it's you just have to know that's what they belong to. Right. Which kind of sucks if I'm being honest, because at least with like NFC West, I have a geographic idea of like PAC, Pacific Atlantic Conference or something. It's like, okay, Pacific's at least in the name. Big Ten tells me nothing.
Western Athletic Conference kind of give it's out west, right? Back in the day.
But yeah, I think literally because part of it is
mid mountain, mid Atlantic,
there's a couple of those.
Mid Atlantic Conference, right?
But honestly, it's not even. Because we also have a ton to talk about. Because, man, Black Monday went bonkers.
Wow.
But part of it, too, is you and I need to learn who's in. Because we need to let the dust settle. Because I don't even know if everybody's done. Because you have two teams left in the Pac-12. How are they going to have a season?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. But I actually have it. It's kind of on the subject. Because obviously Harbaugh won. Yep. Saban retired.
Yep.
Do you think if you're Harbaugh, and this is a question because I was thinking about this, if you're Harbaugh, does that change what you were going to do, or does it not change anything? I'm just like if you're thinking, do I go to the NFL?
Well, I mean the precedent or no the what you let's assume for a second that he was going to go to the NFL. Let's just say that he already knew that. Does Saban change that, retiring? No, I don't think so. I think if there had been other changes potentially in the Big Ten, maybe, because he's, but I think it was interesting that his brother was so prominent everywhere. I thought that was, I guess you got nothing going on. You might as well go to your brother's game, and it's a national championship.
Well, apparently they're really close.
Well, yeah, I mean the dad, they had some lines about how the dad says, it's about time you stepped up, or
Well,
teasing, right?
His parents, partly what people are wondering, and the only reason I even brought up Saban, right, because then in theory, some of the biggest competition you were trying to get by at Ohio State, you've already whooped on. So then next was kind of Saban, right? Like Saban was the big bad. He's gone.
Yep.
So your parents live down the street from you pretty much literally. You're pretty close to your brother because he's in Baltimore. You have a chance to be the next dynasty.
Yeah.
maybe that
Well,
does
I mean,
affect
here's the
it.
question. Then all that never doesn't matter because you knew Saban was retiring at some point. I'll give you
True.
flip it. Pretend it's college basketball. Did it change people's future when Coach K retired? Right? Or
That
Izzo in Michigan State, or what's it,
how
Calipari?
often? Well, but how often do NC? Because even in college now, the guys jumping from college to pros has slowed down.
It has.
How much did
Well,
I don't
yeah.
know? The
Well,
NBA is the same.
and there's only a couple of guys that have jumped back, being
Yeah,
Saban being one of them.
Saban, Harbaugh.
Right. Right.
I think
So
that's actually
I
it.
don't know. I think at the end of the day, if I'm sitting there, certainly the money is a big thing, right? I mean, you're going to get.
Sure.
I don't know what you're going to get, but you're going to get better, right? Two, would I rather live in San Diego than? I'm just throwing it out there as an example.
Yeah.
San Diego than Michigan winners? You bet your bippy, right?
Yeah.
But once again, there's so many openings, right?
Well, let's do that. NFL.
Yeah, let's look at the
coaching
openings because there's
programs.
so many. So I actually ended up on a site, and I don't know how I got here. Obviously, it's Sporting News, and they have predictions on who takes the job.
Oh.
And I haven't read why they think that. I'm sure they have.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to read, right? I'll let other people. It's Sporting News. It's the headline on it is NFL coach hiring predictions for 2024. Projected landing spots for Bill Belichick, Jim Harbaugh, Ben Johnson, and more.
Let's pop that up because actually I saw one that was kind of ranking them, but to me this is interesting because I didn't see
The three guys at the top are all white guys, and they're NFL is pretty proactive on hiring people of color, for lack of a better putting it.
Well,
right? Whether
and
they're African American or not is another discussion. But
they did a good job. So I'm looking right now at Patriots because it didn't take less than a day. Jared Mayo has already been announced as the coach for the Patriots.
I saw that and I was like, man, I didn't hear that one.
Well, and what's cool, they actually had a clause in his contract from last year. So what's awesome to me, and I'm really impressed by the Patriots, is they had it already lined up. So obviously Bill had been talking about it. That it was in the works. It wasn't like, to me, like Vrabel's probably a little shocked. Carroll's probably a little shocked because with what he was doing, in my opinion, with the talent that he had, was overperforming. Mm-hmm. I don't think their roster is actually as good as people say. But that's really about it. I mean, if you look at like Washington Commanders projected hire Bill Belichick, I don't really know why that would be the hire.
Well, okay, yeah. So I guess they're assuming that Bill still wants to coach, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to rebuild. That's the part that, to me, I don't know about.
I forgot that they did the whole new owner thing
thank God.
In Washington, right?
Yes.
And I don't know who Josh Harris is if I passed him on the street, right? I would hire Bill Belichick. Absolutely. I would if he had the do they say who their GM is?
So that actually, I only know this because I obviously follow the Niners. Is the I don't remember his first name, but Peters for the Niners, who I believe runs the scouting department, is pretty much a lock for the GM position. So I don't know if that changes things because obviously these guys come in with who we want.
Exactly.
Like he could try to poach from the Niners and pull someone from the staff. For instance, I know. Oh my gosh, he's not our offensive coordinator, but he's someone lower down, right above Brian Greasy.
Like quarterback coach, something like that.
I think so. Niners coaching staff.
Hey, I'm actually kind of intrigued that no one is mentions. To be honest with you, right?
Actually, the assumption is we might block that.
Openings: Washington, Los Angeles Charger. I just don't get used to that. By the way.
Yeah, that's weird.
Vegas Raiders, Patriots, Seahawks, which I do want to talk about. Atlanta, Tennessee, and Carolina. I mean, that's a lot, and they're not. You're right. They may not be done.
I don't know. It's one of the Kubiak brothers for us. One is the offensive passing game specialist. The other is assistant to quarterbacks. Apparently, we have brothers on our team. That I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So the assumption. Let me go back to. The assumption is he's getting poached. I don't remember for what team, but I could see Peters trying to pull him over with him. So I don't know. A lot of this, and this is what's going to depend, right? A lot of this is dependent on the new GM, because typically when you fire a coach, you don't keep the GM.
Absolutely.
So Jim Harbaugh,
not always, but yeah,
if he goes to Los Angeles, is going to be in charge of everything, and it has Herbert. So to me, that's the only opening. That's it. Other ones, none of them matter.
Oh, the only one you want, or he would want?
If I'm Jim Harbaugh, because I don't, similar to almost Carroll or Belichick, none of these guys are young. I don't think any of them want to do a rebuild, but also Harbaugh, I don't know if he wants to be GM, but he's going to really want to call the shots. It's why he got fired by the Niners, is him and Balky didn't get along. So I don't see him going anywhere that he's not going to have a lot of say. I don't see him going to the Raiders, even though they have interest in him. Well, I would be shocked if they don't hire Antonio Pierce. That would be really dumb.
But okay, so look, I have a couple of dear friends that are absolute. I mean, they got Raider run through their blood. One of them's a native Arizonan. I don't even know how that happened, but they have made some just
boneheaded decisions,
stupid decisions over the years. That one seems simple, and it seems like your team would love it, and he's done okay, and
And your best player has come out and said, he's upset about not winning, and he was upset about last time it happened. The last thing you need to do is piss him off.
Yeah, why would you?
Because he's the only thing you got going for you right now. You don't have a quarterback. Jimmy G sucks. The other guy sucks. Now, the only thing, and again, cool, you can have all the interest you want in Jim Harbaugh. And actually, I think Steve Wilkes has been tied to the Chargers, which, again, would be weird. Why would you hire a defensive coordinator to help your quarterback? That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been announced with the Raiders. Obviously, New England, they already figured that out. Seattle, Dan Quinn.
I think I threw up a little bit in my mouth.
Oh my gosh, I so want this to happen.
Let's talk Seahawks just for a second. Okay, so I have, so for all those that are just, they think Pete and Smith are the answer, right? Let me just remind everybody, they've went 9-8 2 seasons in a row.
Right.
Lost the wild card game last year. So here's okay, that was post Russell Wilson, right? Russell Wilson, by the way, didn't lose or won more than, let's see, 11, 13, 12, 10, 10, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's what he did until all hell broke loose, and then they were 7-10. And that's when they went, oh, yeah, see ya. I thought they should have gotten rid of Pete, right? I am not. Yeah. Look, one, he came from USC. I'm not a fan. He left, and USC got in all kinds of trouble. Everybody forgets, right? In fact, the people that really dislike Pete call him Pete the cheat, right? I don't go there because I don't know what all happened in USC. What I know in Seattle, it's rah rah rah, right? And it was fine when it was rah rah with him and Wilson. Wilson leaves, and all of a sudden he's 9-8. And I don't think Geno Smith's the answer.
No.
I just don't. There's 3 guys on a show today talking about, well, all that experience. I'm like, okay, hold on. In the NFL, you are not a backup. It's not like the Major League Baseball where you're back, you're in the minor leagues for 9 years and you come in, all of a sudden you're Cy Young winner, right?
Right.
That's not how the NFL works. By year 9, you're usually, looking at being done as a quarterback, unfortunately. Right. So as a Seahawks fan, and then so everybody, let's give everybody a quick history lesson. The year the Seahawks lost the Super Bowl, guess who were their Russ? Who was their defensive coordinator?
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn started the second half of that Super Bowl up by 3 scores and literally said, oh, we're going to do a prevent a win defense.
Well, you notice no one talks about him in either loss?
Exactly. So he lost, right? He lost, in my opinion. It was.
Uh-oh. Hello? What happened?
Am I back?
Apparently. I don't know what happened.
When I swung, I think I hit. There's controls on my headset. But sometimes if I hit them, things go bad.
Real quick. So, in the course of this stream, stuff is disappearing off of my template. So I went, all right, I guess things are just falling apart.
Disappeared. Holy crap.
I was like, that check, because there used to be, and I'm curious. No, it still shows on stream. I don't know what's happening. Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Back to Dan Quinn. So Dan, in my opinion, the defense coach lost that Super Bowl. It wasn't the throw at the 1 yard line. They'd lost it earlier, but they were up by 3 scores or 2 scores at halftime. Fast forward. Dan Quinn goes to
Atlanta.
Head coach is up by literally was up at halftime over your friend Tom Brady and the Patriots, right? By a bunch. I don't remember what the number was. Everybody's like, woohoo, partying. And guess what? His defense gives up the most comeback points in the history of the Super Bowl.
But it's Shanahan's fault.
What? Anyway, so look, if they hire Dan Quinn, I'm probably giving away my hat. That's just insane. That is the last guy they need running. A defensive guy. They need a quarterback, and they need a coach. They do not need Dan Quinn, and Geno Smith is not the answer. That's as a Seahawks fan. And look, you go on Facebook right now, everybody's like, oh, Pete was the greatest thing ever, blah. Whatever. You won because Russell Wilson was your quarterback. Even with the worst offensive, one of the worst. It looked like Cincinnati with poor Burrow running for his life, right? Leading the NFL in sacks, right? So, anyway, that's my take on if they hire Dan. I'm like, what are you?
Well, I guess the question would be though, right? Is he because
the defense is not the problem?
It's certainly not the answer, but I get what you're saying. But and for the record, I still agree with you. Partially because, yes, he's had some success against Shanahan, but Shanahan's your main competition in that division, and we just put up 40 on that defense. Right. So I don't think that's the answer. But I would say this and throw this back at you too, though, right, is obviously Belichick before Brady was just kind of an average coach. So, and again, I'm not saying...
Well, okay, so if you include his days as defensive coordinator with Parcells and such, they were quite the team, right?
Right, but I'm meaning I believe he came from the Browns.
I would love to see what the record was, because if you remember, that's the whole Bledsoe then got Brady. Bledsoe was winning, as I remember.
Yes, they were in the playoffs.
Hey, look, that was so long ago. I mean, Brady. Yeah.
It actually, in a weird way, reminds me of Andy Reid with Alex Smith and Mahomes. Because Mahomes got him to the divisional round, so it's not like they were a dumpster fire. But I guess what I'd throw back to you, right, is Dan Quinn the same coordinator that he was back then? Like, has he learned? Has he evolved as a coach? Because, there's things about Shanahan that bug me. He's fairly predictable. He can get kind of conservative. But there are moments where, especially with Purdy, where, like I can see he's evolved. His ability to adapt has evolved. So I only would say I'd be curious to see how this goes, even though I agree with you. I don't think it is the right hire. But, who knows? Maybe he's not quite the same coach that he used to be.
Right.
The next one, and I don't know if I would touch the Atlanta Falcons with a 10-foot pole, because God, their quarterback was terrible, or their coach and quarterback are both terrible. But it looks like they're targeting, and I agree with an offensive coordinator hire, but Bobby Slowick with the Texans. I think you got to get an offensive guy. I don't know enough about him, and my fear is, right, if this is snake oil, how much has C.J. Stroud made him look good, and how much has he made C.J. Stroud look good? You know what I mean? That's really hard to separate. And I'd almost rather see Bobby with another year, see if there's a sophomore slump before I hire him. Because now I'm like, did CJ and lack of film make him look good, or is he that good?
Right. So, Quinn in Atlanta, just FYI, goes there 8-8. They've got Ryan, by the way. They had him before they got there. They go 11-5, lose the Super Bowl, 10-6, losing the division. That's pretty good.
That's not bad.
7-9, 7-9. See you later.
Well, and this goes to show, though, right?
4-12, and he got fired.
Because name another offensive coordinator after Shanahan left. Because now my question would be for him is not so much are you a good defensive coach or whatever, it's are you good at hiring? Yeah,
right. And by the way, do you give him – okay, so this goes for all of these positions, right? So Seattle is not a dumpster fire. I don't think that. I really don't. They got a bunch of picks when they traded Russell, right? Boatload of picks. So, but the problem is you bring in a different coordinator. Now, if you bring in Dan, he probably knows some of the folks, right? Well, you probably know him anyway because you're in the business. But now what do, right? Same thing do you at the Raiders, right? If you hire the interim guy, do you just keep everybody else? Well, you didn't, you finished 5-4, so you didn't crush it.
Well, they also don't have a quarterback.
7-3, right? Or 7-2, right?
Listen, they beat the Chiefs, and they didn't get a first down for like 3 quarters. Yeah. So my argument against, for Atlanta, hire a offensive guy because you have a young quarterback. I think Dan Quinn to Seahawks doesn't make sense because there's no way you're holding on to Geno. Now, maybe you give a year with Dan just to kind of see if you don't think you're going to get one of those top quarterbacks.
Well, yeah. So if you were taking the job in Seattle, would Geno be your guy?
Oh, no. Unequivocally, no. But the question then becomes...
Here's the thing. It's your job.
Right.
If you keep the wrong people, you get fired.
Well, but what I would do, right, because the part of this is also
fire the coach or the quarterback most of the time. They might trade him, they might cut him.
Well, right? I would go in with the interview with because as a coach, it really depends on how much power I have. If I'm coming into an established GM, I want to know what your plan is.
Right.
Are you trading up? Are you giving a boatload of picks for one of these top guys? Because they draft 16th in the next round. So
who?
The Seahawks. So you're not in the quarterback sweepstakes unless, and I could see this, Penix falls to you. Because a lot of people have, and we'll talk about this as we get closer to the draft, they don't have Penix top.
And he did not do himself any favors in that.
But if I'm the Seahawks,
game, he's the second coming, right?
If I'm the Seahawks, maybe I'm thrilled because now I don't have to give up draft picks. Maybe I just let him fall to us. Maybe I move up to 10 rather than 2 because I'm like, okay, you're going to take Caleb Williams. Someone stupid is going to take J.J. McCarthy. No offense, sorry, sir, but I don't think you're very good. I think Drake May is another one. If he can fall to you and you don't really have to give up much. Then I do 1 year with Geno to let Penix sit and learn. Geno's a great veteran. And then I say, okay, next year you're going to start. That's actually a pretty attractive position. But again, I don't know why you'd hire a defensive coach unless you have someone on staff like a Brian Greasy, Bobby Slowick, Mike McDaniel, who you truly believe will develop your young quarterback. If you do not hire a defensive coach, because I think you said it, or someone said it, I think it's a Parcells quote. Cool, hire the defensive guy, but you're always going to be looking for an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So if you keep losing your offensive coordinator, we've seen it even with Josh Allen. With a different offensive coordinator, they were 6-6. They switch again and they start winning games. So if your quarterback, if you're not the old school Ravens, if you're not the old school Bears, and you are trying to build around your quarterback, I don't think you can go defense. I really don't. I think it's a mistake.
So I guess the question becomes, when you start looking at successful organizations, right? Hey, Belichick was very successful. Okay. Oh, the Brady factor, right? But he was very successful, and he was not calling the plays. He's a defensive
Oh,
wizard.
absolutely. He's the anomaly.
Right. So what's his name in L.A. when he won the Super Bowl? Supposedly offensive whiz, right?
McVay.
Right. Chiefs, right?
Andy Reid.
Now Eagles, is he a offensive? I thought he was a defensive guy.
That's Peterson, and I don't remember. But see, here's the difference, and this is where I actually think it's an interesting discussion. It's the difference between a good head coach and a good coordinator. If you are a good head coach, you don't need to call the plays. Like, I think Belichick actually is great at finding talent. He's a terrible GM. He doesn't know how to draft. But in terms of finding talent, like Josh McDaniels is a great offensive coordinator. He's a horrific head coach. Andy Reid doesn't need to call plays because he found Eric Bieniemy. He's someone who's actually pretty darn good at finding talent. And that's something I think GMs especially, to your point, forget. If you hire Steve Wilkes, for instance, is he good at finding talent to help him with the offense? Because if he is, you'll have a situation like the Niners where you're constantly getting poached from, and who cares if we're switching people? Because we're so good at finding the next guy and bringing them up in our system. The system is really what's succeeding. That's what Belichick succeeded. And I think that's where some of these guys are missing, is they come in as a great offensive coordinator, but their head coach chops are not there. And that's where they fall flat on their face, because they're not able to find the people to shore up their weaknesses.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they've already had that one. Patriots already, to your point, already had it all lined up. Now we'll see. Does Harbaugh jump? I haven't seen anything in the news, right? Pete was the big news.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm telling you, if you go back and watch, and I had to look it up because I just remembered watching it and going, man, he's all in. And then, whoa, he's not all in. They've had a conversation.
That's what makes me wonder about Harbaugh, because Tennessee didn't even want to wait to trade Vrabel. They had that opportunity. Seattle, it wasn't, to me, I never got the impression Carroll was on the hot seat. So, what did you hear?
9-8. Yeah.
But this is also, I think, a fan versus a reasonable perception. Does anybody really think, besides Nick Wright, who literally had the Niners going like 4-12 and the Seahawks winning the division, besides him, that was, woof, talk about a swing and a miss. But does anybody really have Geno running that division? No. So what could have been your expectations for Carroll? Honestly, if you're not setting him up to succeed.
Look, in my opinion, he's in the division. He's the fourth quarterback.
I still have him so far over. He's at least third. I don't have enough. I'm sorry. I was thinking coaches. Yes, he's his fourth, because even Kyler, I think, has more flash, more ability.
Oh yeah, but anyway.
You have Stafford on one leg, who's better than Geno.
Well, and here's the funny part, right? And so if I'm the leadership of Seattle, I look at this year and I go, wait a minute. Cardinals literally didn't even have their quarterback. They had just changed. It was a dumpster fire there. They weren't going to win, right? Mm-hmm. Don't have to worry about that. L.A. stumble, bumble, fumble. You should have been number 2. You weren't going to catch the Niners. Everybody, but 9-8. I'm sorry, and at anywhere else they would have gone, you're done.
Well, but
you're done.
To your question, though, right? Or
everybody loved Pete. So
but he didn't draft the players. Now, how much input did he have? This is where I am confused by. They didn't fire the GM. Because if 9-8,
they didn't really even fire Pete.
You're like an advisor.
Upstairs, we're going to pay you a bunch of money. That's what we're going to do. We're going to keep, because he has one more year in his contract. That's the key, right? So you don't have any dead space. You pay him for another year.
You're not playing against him.
Exactly.
But
And you
Why
treat
did
him right. And you treat him right. I mean, look,
Sure.
we won. You and I both went, are you kidding me? You let Shane Doan go? The Sharks. Oh, are you kidding me? You let Joe Thornton go?
Right.
Are you nuts? Right? You put him. I don't care if you got to put him in a wheelchair out there. You keep. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah.
So,
no, I
so
agree.
there's guys like the way the Diamondbacks do with Gonzo, right? I mean, right. Diamondbacks did it right with some folks, to be fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an expansion team, they win the one big World Series, and but I think they did it right. Whereas it took a while for the Coyotes to go, oh, yeah, that was a mistake, and they brought Shane Doan back, right? Anyway, if you're gonna be a legacy, if you're gonna be big money, which is NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You do things like that. You move your coach who's loved by everybody, including your team, and you need a new coach.
Right.
Firing him? Really? Getting him to understand, look, you're 72 years old, Pete. I think you need to step aside. It's been however many years. I didn't even look. It's a lot of years.
But still, why is the GM still there? Because that's where I think, and I get it. I get it. And this is why I don't think they're in on the Harbaugh sweepstakes. Because of the fact that they didn't fire their GM. And I'd say Harbaugh wants to be a GM, but Harbaugh wants a lot of say.
Yeah, because he didn't have it in San Francisco.
But listen, there's a lot of things wrong with Carroll. I completely agree. Like, there's a reason.
Oh, John Schneider.
I don't
14 seasons.
See, so there's a reason Belichick, Carroll, and someone else, like the longest tenured guys have all kind of, or Saban. Yeah, I know he's not NFL, but there's a reason a lot of these guys, even though they are successful or moving on, is just because like the game keeps evolving. There are things Carroll was not evolving with, but the GM still drafted these players. The GM still brought in Geno. So how much,
well,
in my opinion,
and
how
he
much
was
you
a
put on
backup
Carroll?
to Russ, right?
Correct.
You had him,
and that was fine. That made total sense.
Like a good idea, because guess what? That's what he did everywhere else.
And then I didn't even mind Drew Lock to kind of see, because he does something that Geno doesn't do, which is throw the ball deep, which is what you guys need. Obviously not the best.
I actually liked him, but I unfortunately here you see two games. You see him when they play Arizona twice. That's what you get to see, right? And then I watched some highlights. Oh, I keep whacking my camera. Sorry. Anyway, we need to move off of it.
No, it's okay, because I think it's a big part of it.
I think this week is going to be this weekend. So
we got two more teams that have openings, and so far, Tennessee, which I did not expect them to move on from Vrabel. They're the projected hire is Eric Bieniemy, which I think is a good call because their offense has been the longest or the biggest struggle. I don't think they're that good, so we'll see how big of a upgrade that is. Carolina, again, looking for an offensive guy, which again makes sense if you think.
And I would have never thought of the Lions offensive guy.
No,
but he's got all kinds of local connections to Carolina.
But also, Lions actually have a pretty good.
I think Carolina's got some players.
Yes, and Lions actually have looked pretty good in terms of offense.
Man, I hope that. Yeah,
but that's how you salvage your young quarterback: is you give him a really, really good offensive coordinator. So that tells me also that they're gonna try with Bryce Young. That's really what if this ends up being the hire, is they're trying to salvage Bryce Young and see what they can do.
Yep.
Now the question is, right? I don't see. Actually, I did. I think I did see Steve Wilkes in here. He was for no. I didn't. So if you are Harbaugh, and I think I need your opinion on this. Out of those 7 teams, the only one really that people think you're going to go for is San Diego. I think that's the only option. I don't see another one where I'm like, oh, yeah, absolutely. People say Washington. Cool, you have cap space. Cool, you have draft picks. You're at the middle of a rebuild.
Well, yeah.
Is that attractive?
I think it goes back to, does he want to be in the AFC? That's another question.
Well, and if you're
brothers in the AFC, right? But
sure, but San Diego is not a strong division.
So 2 things. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, how much control do I have? How much control do I have? and what's on the table. In other words, do I have a QB? Do I have draft picks? What do I have to come, or is this like a 5-year start over? And you might still do that, right? Because you're going to evaluate talent. You're going to go, okay, this guy they thought was good, right? But there's all those other intangibles, like how much control I have, where do I want my family to live. I don't think Washington's a good option. I thought Carolina more than Atlanta, for example, and also, like San Diego. Well, it's not San Diego anymore, but you know what I mean. It's the Chargers. Let's say Chargers. Does seem like a pretty good fit, and you get to go challenge Andy Reid for the AFC West. And you saw, when the Chargers stumble, the Chiefs stumble, they do stumble, right?
Well, and that's
all of a sudden, Holmes doesn't look as good. But like you said, he was throwing to people that were just dropping it on the ground.
Yeah, terrible. But in that division, you have Oakland, who they don't have a quarterback, period. Denver is trying to move on from their quarterback. They owe millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. You have a quarterback.
Yeah, I think. By the way, I do think Peyton wants to go after a QB. I don't think he thinks that other guy's the answer.
No, I agree.
Dick Freed or whatever the heck his name was.
No, I agree. And the only other one is KC, and there's Kelsey's slowing down. They don't have any receivers. They're strapped to a giant contract with Mahomes. I don't know why no one does what Brady did and just don't take $1 bajillion. The only other option, though, in fairness, Washington. If you look at Washington, Giants suck. The Eagles are, little shaky right now. There is a possibility they fire their coach. I don't think they should, but they did it. They did it to Peterson the year after he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true.
So then the only other one is the Cowboys, and again, Dak, you're having a career year, but that's your 8-ish years in the league. So you're going to be hitting, your 30s. So that is not a bad opening.
We still haven't seen him get out of the first round of the playoffs. Ever.
Yes, they beat Tom Brady last year and then promptly lost in the second round.
Oh, yeah, they beat the Bucs. You're right. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. But anyway.
So those are, to me, out of everything, are the two attractive ones. No, it's Rams-Lions, which is why it's a kind of an interesting storyline, Goff versus Stafford.
And then Buccaneers and Eagles.
Mm-hmm. And Eagles, I think, are probably going home. Just because you go in on such a losing streak, I just don't know if you can get up for the game. But, who knows? It's the playoffs.
And it's a wild card round, which is always a little wild, right?
Now, and I think what affects this is I'd like to talk young QBs, right? Like we have Bryce Young with Carolina, Desmond Ridder with Atlanta, excuse me.
Yep.
Washington has can't remember his name. He's throwing for a ton of yards. Who knows if he's the answer? Obviously, we already talked about San Diego. They have
Herbert.
Thank you. Oakland doesn't.
CJ, right, in Texas.
Yeah, but what I'm really thinking is like, okay, out of all these openings, right? And actually, I want to look at draft position. But the main ones is Bryce, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell. Remembered it. Herbert. I think it's Sam Levis with Tennessee.
Oh, you're talking about openings with quarterbacks?
Right, because then Harbaugh has to pick, right? Am I going to have to draft another dude? Or do I have someone where I can trust I have our franchise quarterback? I have that locked down. Yeah. Now, there is an argument to be made, right? Because Herbert, I think, is either already gotten paid or about to be paid. So now your ability to really, like the Niners have somebody who's making $900,000 a year. You can spend a ton of money for another year.
Yeah.
So,
poor Brock.
If you are these teams, who you're going after is going to really tell your young QB what your plan is.
Yeah, and Herbert isn't young. He's proven. Other than he got hurt, I think he's a stud. I think you got other things you need to build there, right? The other one, the guy, I do think Bryce Young needs, to me it was a little like what's his name in Jacksonville. He went in with such high hopes, and then things fell apart around him. He was still good.
Yeah.
He was still, you saw, even when they were, I don't know, 5-11 or whatever the heck, you saw it wasn't because of him.
Right.
Right? So I haven't seen any Carolina games, so I don't know if Bryce is the problem. So that's the question, right? I remember when I was just thinking of Washington with RG3, right? And until he got hurt, oh my gosh, man.
Oh, he was amazing.
You just went, oh, okay. Redskins are going to be good, right?
Right.
I mean, they're going to be good. By the way, there was highlights in one of my feeds of the Niners Washington game, and Joe just lighting it up, and Coach Gibbs, just Superman of faith and just character, and the look on his face was like, why do we have to play against this guy? Right? And that's what you want. You want the other team to go, dang, we got to face Mahomes again. Dang,
yes.
Got to face Brady again. Dang, because here's the thing. They don't ruffle. They don't ruffle. So it was the only knock I've ever seen on with the Carolina Panthers. The physical specimen run over from Auburn, right? Cam Newton. It was all of a sudden, and Rob and I actually had a fairly energetic debate about it when he just looked like nothing was happening in the Super Bowl, right? It was like that was weird. He got down and couldn't pull himself back out of where he was, right? And you don't see Brady do that. You didn't see, the greats, right?
Right.
And I think Cam had all the physical. Look, nobody could run over people, throw a long pass, he had everything. But once again, it's what happens between. Oh, I got to stay away from my headset. I'll disconnect myself again. But it's what happens between the ears that is the intangible,
right?
That Montana's, the Aikmans, even Jim Kelly, right? Loses the Super Bowl, the close one, the first one, right? I think a missed kick, as I remember. Comes back 3 times, wins the AFC 3 years in a row, and nobody even mentions him with the Phil Simms and the others of that era. What? Are you kidding me? Who goes to the Super Bowl 4 times? Even if you lose, you went 4. Look, you ran it anyway. My point being, that's the separator that I tend to see. The guys that are mentally just they don't waver. They don't get flustered. They don't fold up like a house of cards.
It's actually one thing I like about Purdy, because people talk about he just compounds issues. It's like no, because everybody talks about
you don't watch enough football. That's what's wrong. You haven't watched a quarterback.
Well, and
that's what you're thinking.
People forget. I don't remember what game it was, but I was looking at Brady's career. He's thrown 4 interceptions in one game before. Peyton's thrown it multiple times.
Absolutely.
Favre ended his career. Them all that got broken, but he ended as the most touchdowns and the most interceptions.
Yes.
So we joke 3rd and 19 is 3rd and Brett Favre. So
3rd and Brett Favre, absolutely right, because you wanted that guy slinging it out on the side, but
right.
So if you think about some mentally tough guys, right? I'll give you one. Stafford survived in the Lions, never looked down, never gave up, gave his heart over and over and over again when they were not good. Go ahead.
My favorite clip of him is he's literally, I think he dislocated his shoulder or something. He told them, "You're not taking me off the field."
And then he came back in, right?
He pushed him off of him.
Popped it back in or something.
And he threw a touchdown.
So he gets the opportunity, right? He goes to L.A.
Yep. And wins the Super Bowl immediately.
Right. So the other one is Jim Plunkett, right? Nobody that's watching this probably remembers Jim Plunkett, but he was in New England and they sucked. And he spent a lot of time on his back. He goes to the Raiders, wins the Super Bowl. So, the mentally tough thing is just you cannot.
And you can't measure it.
It cannot be overrated.
When you can't measure it, you never know until they're in that situation. So it's one of the hardest things to draft because you just don't know.
Right.
You have no idea when the hits the fan what's going to happen.
If you were drafting Joe Montana, you go, okay, skinny kid, throws a good ball. But dang, he brought them back from nowhere. And he went to Notre Dame, which was, by the way, the school back then. Notre Dame, USC. I mean, you were the school, right? And then he comes to the NFL and it's
like you said,
going
Super
to
Bowl.
lunch.
He's talking about people in the stands.
John Candy, and later, the reason he did it was calm everybody down.
Oh yeah. Well, I told you, Purdy told Kittle to shut up in the huddle.
And by the way, there was an add into that as he's done it with others. And all it's, hey guys, let's go. Right?
Yeah.
It's not, hey Kittle, shut up. It's like, hey, shut up, everybody, let's go. Right?
Well, that's when they all knew. That's when okay, we got a dude.
No respecter of persons. Right?
No.
We're in the huddle. I have a job. This is my job. I'm going to do my job.
And he actually said in meetings he'd watch how people reacted to not either being in the game plan or not getting the ball. And when he saw nobody cared, he went, "Oh, I can throw it to whoever I want because no one cares." Now,
and look at the funny part is, right, the NFL record nobody's ever done. The part that they leave out is the guy that threw all those passes and created all that offense, right?
Yeah.
So, but the good part is all of those guys literally just, that's the guy.
Right.
Know? And I will tell you, the Baltimore game, he stood up and said, "Hey, look, I have to be better."
He literally went to his team and apologized.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Leadership, right? Leadership. So you have on here young Cookies who talked about that. Oh,
well,
Chicago,
and here's the thing, real quick.
You want to go there?
And this what's cool is this is actually related because I have it on screen. Chicago is number 1 in this year's draft, which is hilarious because guess who they got it from? Carolina.
Yeah.
Which is very funny to me. And this might affect people's decision. Washington has the 2 pick. New England 3. Cardinals are 4. LA is 5. So if they decide for whatever reason either to bundle those picks to move either to move on from Herbert, which I don't see them doing, or bundle them to someone who needs a quarterback, they're right there. Yeah. Tennessee.
Well, that's to your point about Chicago, right? They, they think if you're going to stay with Fields,
which I think they should,
you could get a boatload for that.
King's ransom.
Yes.
So Tennessee is 7, Atlanta is 8. Ironically, Chicago is again at 9. That's hilarious. Yeah. Vegas is 13th. Seattle 16th. And then there's still some that's not quite decided.
Yeah.
And I'm trying
By the way,
sure.
I looked at 2 mock drafts. Nobody has them taking a QB.
Who?
Seattle.
Which, with where they're sitting, I understand that. Because that 16th, you end up with Mac Jones.
How to get Penix then?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. You go for Penix.
So,
who do they have him getting, though?
I don't know. Oh, a lineman and another guy had a safety. And they were looking at best athlete available.
Well, actually, it's funny that I'm on ESPN, and they are saying this is probably the draft if you want to get a QB.
Really?
Yeah, because there's like 5 of them.
Good out to you.
Well, Penix, for me, I pick Penix even over Caleb.
From USC, they said is going number 1.
I would not take him. I think he's...
And the legacy of
his backup.
Quarterbacks is not great.
His backup in the bowl game threw 6 touchdowns.
Ooh.
Just saying. But I don't... So we had Atlanta, Carolina, Washington, Tennessee. So I'm just trying to make sure everybody is on here because I'm trying to see...
Seattle, Vegas.
Okay.
And Chargers.
Okay. So
like
everybody...
At 8. Is it 8? I think it's 8.
Yeah.
It's 7 or 8. It's a lot.
Yes.
But you know what? It happens every year. That's the funny part. Every year it's
so real quick,
third of the coaches.
If I'm Harbaugh, Washington is attractive because you are guaranteed a top prospect quarterback. You're not guaranteed obviously anything. Just that's the way it works.
Sure.
But to your point, what does Chicago do? You kept your coach.
You kept your coach.
Does that mean you keep your QB, or do you gamble on what people... And I don't agree with this. I saw a clip. Guy was saying this is the best, basically, lock, which we've seen Trevor Lawrence, Mr. Lock. And this wasn't meant to be a pun. I just remembered that it's the best since Andrew Luck. So Luck. I don't agree with that. I don't think Caleb Williams is a lock. But if you're the Bears, I think you go for the picks. What about you?
Yeah, I don't know what their needs are. I didn't watch a single Chicago game this year. But
real quick, biggest question is whether they'll keep their quarterback. to build around with another wide receiver, interior O-line. That seems to be what people are saying is the big.
Marvin Harris Jr., right? That's where Cardinals. Everybody's when they grab. Hey, look at 4. They think they can get him, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because everybody wants a QB ahead of them, in theory, except for Chicago. And what they said on the local talk is they said, hey, if I'm Chicago and I believe, right, I believe in my quarterback, then I go get a boatload of picks for somebody to go up and get a QB. Because, I mean, if it ain't a QB, who are you getting, right? If you're going to number 1 and you're going to give away the franchise, you're not going up to get a QB. You're going up to get Marvin Harrison Jr. No, you're not. No, you're not. Now, if you're in that spot, let me play devil's advocate. You're Chicago and you really believe in your quarterback, but you need a wideout. Maybe they shock the crap at everybody and take Marvin Harrison Jr. as number 1.
So if it was me, I wouldn't spend a number 1 draft pick on a wide receiver.
Right. I mean, yeah. But man, is he a generational receiver? It's still just a receiver, though. To your point, he's still the only guy that's like I think you put down or somebody put down generational.
Yeah,
is usually a QB. It really is, right? But the man nowadays, who thought Purdy would be the guy?
Well, and that's something I'd like to talk about in the offseason. I'm going to talk with you and Rob. Is maybe the way we evaluate quarterbacks is wrong. Maybe the problem is not you need a Josh Allen. Maybe the problem is your coach sucks. Maybe he needs Josh Allen to make him look good. Because sometimes when and I love Shanahan. I'm a Niners fan. He's great. Hold on real quick. But sometimes when they highlight these plays that are like, this is incredible, I'm like, that's not that impressive. Why is he the only one doing this? Right. Go ahead.
So to your point about Josh Allen, what I heard them, I don't even remember who I was listening to, but they said the change was they stopped absolutely throwing every single pass to what's his name? They're all world wideout. Which
team? Sorry.
Buffalo.
Oh yeah, Stephon Diggs. Sorry.
Right, Stephon Diggs. Jeez, everything. I mean, literally for the first 8 games, and they ended up 6 or 12 games, 6-6.
Right.
And then they fired the offensive coordinator.
Yep.
And got somebody that said, "Hey, there's other folks you can throw to, and then Stephon Diggs will be open."
Right.
Right. He's not drawing double coverage. He's not drawing their best cover guy every single time. Right. They used to do that. Remember in the NFL, they take Sherman and they say, "Hey, look, you're covering Russ. That's wherever he goes, you go." And then they double him, right, with an over, roll up zone, all of that, right? Anyway, my point being, then they came back and literally from a 6-6 ended up the number 2 seed in the AFC, right? How do you do that? Well, guess what? You took the hard job and you fired the QB or the offensive coordinator.
Now, agreed. Now I'm a little annoyed because part of the offensive coordinator got a lot of blame, and not to say the other guy isn't better, but part of it was Josh Allen would score, the other team would get the ball, they would score, and basically any game that they were leading, Josh Allen never got to do the kneel down. He had to score every single time. But real quick, we're looking. I have on the screen the top 5 QBs. Caleb Williams is apparently the unanimous one.
Is he the USC guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Listen,
I'm just trying to remember the names.
No, you're fine. Well, and I'll read when I say them, I'll read their school. But Trevor Lawrence to me should be the cautionary tale. I'm not saying he's not good, but he certainly doesn't look. Yeah, he certainly doesn't look like the next Peyton Manning.
But what I would say is on the games I saw, even when they lost, I was like, man.
No, he's good.
But yeah, he's not Burrow, but I think he's. Anyway, we'll see. Hey, look, Jacksonville surprised a lot of folks. But
I think they need to give. Well, they surprised a lot of folks by losing and not making the playoffs, but they really need a better offensive coordinator. Anyway, Drake May from North Carolina is considered kind of the next one. Okay. Jaden Daniels, the Heisman from LSU, is kind of the next, but they have him so how it goes is Caleb Williams is 1 in terms of prospects. Drake May is the second best quarterback, but the third best pick is Marvin Harrison Jr. Jaden Daniels is 20th. I don't know who's in the middle of that. Bo Nix from Oregon is 25th. Penix is 30. Deion Sanders' son is 36th from Colorado. McCarthy is 7th.
His stats were really good at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, he, to me, is way more the only reason they were good. Their defense is hot garbage.
Yes.
And then, like, McCarthy's 7th. So, okay.
Really?
Right? Yeah. And then the guy from Texas is 8th.
Well, here, they were talking local. Do you realize the Cardinals have like 6 picks in the first 96 slots? I don't know how they did that. That's
That's how you rebuild.
That is a Pete Carroll trick, right?
Yep.
You get as many picks as you can get, and then you never pick a left tackle. But that, anyway.
Well, and I think we both agree. Even looking at who's on the board, if I'm Chicago, I go give me 14 picks, because
Absolutely.
I think Justin Fields is not a that much, quote unquote, of a downgrade from Caleb Williams. Everything
Right.
I've seen from Caleb, honestly, and again, in my opinion, it's falling in love with Josh Allen all over again. And I love Josh Allen. But
Right.
why I want Purdy over someone even like Caleb Williams is the things that don't matter how much, except for your arm, how much your body fail you is footwork, processing, reading a defense. That's what I need from you. I don't need you to be falling out of bounds and throw a 50-yard pass. I need, give me 3rd and 6.
Right. Here's the thing. So Purdy and others, right? Brady, for example. I'm not saying Purdy's Brady. I'm just saying this is
Right.
So I know where to. I can figure out who I'm supposed to throw to, and I can make that throw
On time.
right.
Well, not even on time.
I don't
anticipated.
I mean, some of the throws we've seen, Mahomes throw. I think he threw a sidearm one like 55 yards one time, and I'm just like, okay, stop this.
Yeah.
But he had to do that because he was running for his freaking life.
Well,
right?
and that's my point.
But the guy that I want is the Purdy, the Brady, the guy that goes 1, 2, 3, and I can actually hit him between the numbers when I need.
Right. Well, and that's my point of why I really wish we'd have, and we do this all the time. In football, I think too many coaches are looking for a quarterback that means they don't have to be that great. Where they can be like, all your physical traits, when the play breaks down, you can bail me out of danger. When like Shanahan's like, no, just run my offense. And to an extent, that can be actually kind of dangerous because like the first pick against the Ravens, the play actually sucked. JT thinks someone was open. Well, no, that was a different play. But there was nobody open. They had the perfect defense. Now, he forced the ball. But I think what we
normally
really
sophomore quarterbacks force it a lot more than
he has. Yeah.
Sophomore jinx, all of that.
I would actually love to have the real conversation of how good coaches actually are in the NFL. There's a great Twitter account named Honest NFL who has been eviscerating the Eagles offensive coordinator because their stuff sucks. There's no motion.
Well,
they have like 3 plays.
You that said, you were the one that was telling me they have like 3 plays.
So I think the reason why Caleb Williams is the top draft pick is a team goes, I don't actually have to have that good of talent. I don't actually have to have that good of an offensive coordinator because he's so talented, he can take us from like a C or a B to an A rather than saying, hey, let's aim for Mike McDaniels. Let's aim for Kyle Shanahan where we can have a B plus A offense so we don't have to have as big of a Mahomes. We can have a slightly less skilled guy like Purdy. He's physically limited. It is what it is. But here, this is what I have. I have the brain power to run an NFL offense.
And then the skills to get him the ball.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I think that'll be a fun off-season conversation.
But think about the Eagles just for a second, right? The last 3 quarterbacks on the Eagles, all pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I don't know if they've changed
Wentz.
offensive coordinator.
Who's the guy
that
who won
hurt?
it?
The guy that got hurt
Yes.
the guy that replaced
Foles.
Wentz. Yeah. Nick, look, who's been successful wherever he's went, right? Not super, but successful. And now you've got Jalen Hurt, who I think to your point, I think their offensive coordinator is like, dude, he's legit.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the problem.
No.
With the Eagles.
No, he is not.
I'm like, okay, good. For the first time in a long time, they might fire the guy that's actually at fault. They're not going to trade the quarterback away, right? Anyway.
Now, to be a little selfish, because I think it's a fascinating story and it affects the NFC West. If you're Arizona, do you stick with Murray?
Yes.
Why?
I look, I was a detractor last year. When I saw him throw the moonshot out of the end zone, and just completely freak out. I went, oh God, I would, the money you just paid this kid, and he just literally deer in the headlights would have been a good look. He's a deer in the headlights and ran toward the headlights, right? And then I don't look. Maybe it's a new coach.
I like him, by the way.
Right. From what I've heard, he's done a phenomenal job.
They're competitive 4-13.
Yes. Everything I've watched by Kyler is not the problem.
No,
he's doing everything. And look, he is 5'10", throwing over mountains. There's been other guys that do the exact same thing. His feet. I mean, he maybe the knee slows him down to be more of a pocket guy. I think you stay with Kyler and you go get Harrison Jr. or you add other tools. Their defense used to be.
You said they have a lot of picks. Never mind.
Yeah, they got like.
I was going to say you hoard picks. We already have them.
I thought it was either 6 or 8 in the first 96, and 2 in the first round.
Right.
So you're like, hey, you got a franchise guy that you believe in that in my opinion looks like he came back with all guns a-blazing and just fine. Thank you. And I really believe the problem Kyler was having was once again between the ears, and it may have been the dang coach.
Cliff was not very good.
He looked so sound in coming back, and they suck, guys. He is not. Look, they don't have enough horses, right? Their running back is really, really good. Hey, they went into Philly and punched Philly in the mouth
and beat the Cowboys.
Right.
Those are good wins, in my opinion.
Wins this year were really good. Now, as a Seahawks fan and a Niner fan, I don't want them to be any good, but I'm sticking with Kyler, and I'm taking, I'm surrounding him with some folks, and let's see what happens. Let's go have some fun because their running back Connor,
he's a stud.
He gave Philly everything they could handle.
He gave us everything we could handle. He was actually their bright spot against us. He kept him in the game.
Yeah, and by the way, historically, Seahawks can't stop the run ever. Look, when just like baseball, you're up the middle. You're supposed to be strong. You need it. Like LA when they won the Super Bowl, right? They had what's his name,
Aaron Donald.
Donaldson. Yeah, Aaron Donald. I mean, just a mountain of a human. They had great inside linebackers, and they had the stud safety. And they, just like Major League Baseball, right? Catcher, pitcher, right up the middle of the center fielder, right? They always talk about that. And then you end up with somebody. Now, the Niners, they got bookends that they're moving all over the place and creating all kinds of havoc. But
I still can't believe we got who we got.
That's one of those where somebody's going, I think I'm investigating.
Dude, we got Chase Young for like peanuts.
Nothing. Yeah, I don't. Somebody wanted you to win, I guess. Anyway,
and real quick, we're going to do a kind of a twofer because I think we kind of already talked about it. So we're just going to touch on it briefly because this is just an interesting topic. Is do you pick a defensive coordinator or do you pick an offensive guy when you're drafting? And to me, it depends on do you have.
Oh, when you need a coach.
Yeah. Do you have a quarterback? Look, is really it.
I am a defensive guy. Nobody knows the whole story, but I live and breathe linebackers. I would hire an offensive coordinator if he's good.
Well, and that's just to me. Like I said, it's really.
Sorry. I lean that way, but the other attributes that you talked about, can he actually hire somebody? Can he run the actual team? Because it is a little bit more than just I'm calling plays.
Right.
I'm designing offense, right? It's more than, Kyle Shanahan has to hire the quarterback's coach and the line coach and all these other people with the GM, obviously, and evaluate talent. I mean, there's so much in it. And that was interesting. I didn't do anything. I just sat here.
So I don't know if anybody's noticed over the course of the stream stuff, like I said, going away. So we'll see. I don't know. Yeah. It literally might be this whatever.
Yeah.
Messing up.
Yeah.
Real quick,
solar flares.
Yeah, just real quick, we're just gonna go over who's playing. I don't really care.
Well, we'll pick. Well, let's go to the games and we'll pick. for fun. Write them
No,
down.
we will.
We'll look at them next week. That'll be fun.
So you know
go
what?
through them.
Here, let's
You
do
got
this.
the list, right? You got the list of who's playing, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what's weird? The picture I have, because I was trying to find a picture because it's so much easier than looking at text.
Oh, absolutely.
Is not all the teams.
Oh.
It's like, what is wrong with you? Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, the other thing I hate is all the ads that keep popping up. You can't see what you're trying to, you go to NFL.com or ESPN, and it's just, guys. I just want to see who's going to play. Thank you very much.
So, I was trying to avoid showing people me searching, but whatever. So we'll just go schedule. This'll be adequate. Okay. First game. Cleveland, Houston. Who we got?
Oh, jeez. Man, I'd love to see CJ come out of it, but Cleveland has been playing quite well.
I think their defense is the X factor.
Yeah.
I think
it's
they
in
win.
Cleveland, obviously. Are they going to have a Frozen Bowl too? I'm assuming, because if Kansas City's frozen, Cleveland's got to be frozen.
Well, but
is it a Saturday game?
I think it's a dome stadium in Houston.
Oh, it's in Houston. All right.
Yeah, because they won their division because Jacksonville lost. But
I still think Cleveland wins that game.
Miami, Kansas City.
God, if Miami had been playing better, I would actually pick Miami even in the frozen tundra, because I've just seen the other team. Both teams have to play in the cold, by the way. It sucks for both teams.
I'm picking Miami for a buddy of mine, but I don't think they win that game.
I think Kansas City wins.
Yeah, I'm only doing this for my friend, so I can
not
tell
by
him,
a bunch.
I picked your team.
I mean, yeah.
Pittsburgh, Buffalo.
Buffalo. Yeah. I love Pittsburgh. I would love to root for Pittsburgh for Caitlin and Ron, but my son-in-law and my granddaughter. But I think Ron's going to belong as scored. Is what I think. That's in Buffalo, obviously. Buffalo, right?
Yeah, because they're number 2 seed.
Yeah.
Which we need to talk about the fact we added a game, removed a bye, and then didn't add any rest time for these teams. But that's an off-season conversation. Green Bay versus Dallas.
Is it in Green Bay?
No.
Because Dallas won the East. Mm-hmm. Dallas won the East, right? Yeah.
And this is interesting because I
think Dallas wins that game.
This is also because of the controversy at the end of the Detroit-Dallas game. Because then Detroit would be the 2 seed.
Yeah, it's stupid.
I think Dallas wins as well.
I don't want them to win. I'd rather root for Green Bay, actually, but
I don't think Green Bay has
Denver and Dallas.
Yet. Rams versus Lions.
In
Detroit.
I'll pick the Lions.
I think Detroit beats them. I do, because I think their offense is good enough. Goff is much better at home. Wow, tickets are as low as $372.
That's funny.
Tickets, ironically, in Dallas are as low as $77. That's hilarious. I'm with you. I just think they're a better team, and I think they're motivated because they're mad they got the controversy, and I think they want to win for Goff. Now, Philly versus Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Me too.
I think Philly's so backing into it. Oh my gosh. They got 2 flat tires and a spare somewhere, right?
Now,
they should win. Now they should win.
Right.
Bucks aren't impressive. No. Nobody even wanted to win that division, right? But I just see the Eagles laying an egg.
Same. And again, if they would have been competitive against the Giants, I would have picked them to win, but they weren't.
They should have never lost to the Giants. That's insane.
No, that said a lot to me about their mental state.
Character.
Yeah, I think that's it for the show. Well, obviously next week we're going to recap all the Wildcard Weekend. We really are going to want to get into, for us, obviously we're going to come up with, or we're going to be going into well, we probably won't talk about the draft yet because that's still a ways off. If there's anything that happens from, any more coaching decisions, obviously we'll cover that. I would love to get into one that I'm really curious on my for my dad is, how do we feel about players having podcasts? That might be a topic in the future. We obviously have to talk the controversy of indoor versus outdoor games, especially with KC and Miami. If I'm Miami, I'm like, we're playing in -30. Are you freaking serious?
Welcome to my house.
And that's why it's going to be fun. I think we're gonna enjoy that. So
fun. Yeah.
I would also love to talk about, especially with the bye week, and we kind of already gotten into it, is coaches, versus QBs in kind of the blame versus credit, because I think we never seem to get this right. Brady was only good because of defense in Belichick until he went to Tampa. People, you even talked about it with Joe, only good because of his weapons. I saw even this isn't even quarterback.
Well, by the way, they did say it was Bill Walsh too, West Coast offense. Without West Coast offense, Joe wasn't any good. To your point, he went to Kansas City, kind of like Brady went to Buccaneers, right?
Well, and something I do want to talk about too is how people are unable to separate a talented player from talented team or quarterback. Like, I saw an argument that Randy Moss is better than Jerry Rice because if he would have had these quarterbacks, and you're like, but you can't use it as a negative against Jerry Rice and then say it's a positive if Randy Moss would have had it. That doesn't make sense.
Really amazing as a Raider, which is terrible to say. Right?
No, and I agree. But I think that's an interesting discussion to have because I don't think people are able to differentiate that. But I think we've kind of exhausted it. We obviously have Super Wildcard Weekend coming up. I don't know if I'm even going to watch any games. I'm probably just going to watch highlights if I'm being honest.
I don't know. It depends on what they have on local here, right? Sometimes you get the good game, and sometimes it's like on a channel I don't get because I got rabbit ears almost. But
remind me.
But I did want to leave with a quote, by the way.
Real quick, remind me. I can share because I have YouTube TV. It actually lets me share like a family thing. Yeah. So remind me. But every
I am still family.
Every week we like to do a quote. Go ahead and lead us out.
So this is from George Hallis. This is a great one. Nobody who ever gave their best regretted it.
I like that.
That's a phenomenal quote for those that want to live by something. Give your best. You never regret it.
And with that note, we're going to end it. That was fun. We had a pretty full show today. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. That's why those other guys have shows like every day. Yeah, because it's a lot to cover.
Yeah, especially because it's not even over, right? Like there's going to be more moves. There's going to be more going on. Yep. Obviously, I think the draft's going to be interesting. So.
Well, we didn't talk about some of the ancillary stuff. ESPN and Pat. There's all these weird ancillary things. I mean, Pete was almost an ancillary. It's like, what? Wait a minute. Pete's not going to be the coach of the Seahawks. What does that mean, right?
Right.
But we can't even get to that stuff. I mean, I don't want rumor and innuendo. I don't mean that. But stuff that impacts real humans is always important, right?
Well, it's such and I think we'll get into that in the off season. Is the landscape of media is changing. It's really interesting. A lot more people now are kind of controlling the narrative, and that's not a negative. It's just something you have to realize.
Exactly.
But with that note,
all right. Thanks, Russ. Thanks, son.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Hold on. There it is. I did the same thing. My hand was way over here. Good night, everybody.